My name is Stella, and I'm the second in line for the throne. My older sister, Gabriella, is set to take the throne next month after our father, King Tristan, abdicates. He's suffering from a terrible illness that will soon take his body, and then his mind, so he's been preparing us for when he passes on. Our mother died when we were young, so aside from that, he's the only family we have left.
My beautiful daughters, the time that I must leave you is approaching. In my final days, it is my sworn duty to introduce you to the people and deliver them the news of my upcoming demise.
That was the day that changed everything. Because just before evening was due to fall, the kingdom congregated outside in the palace gardens and eagerly awaited the news. My father had been a popular ruler. When he stepped out onto the balcony, it was to a wave of noise. The public cheered him and applauded him. When he explained the circumstances of his health, they wept for him. None of this was a surprise. What shocked me was the response to me and my sister.
Please welcome my daughter, Princess Stella.
The audience cheered so loudly that my ears felt like they were rattling inside of my head.
And finally, your new ruler, Queen Gabriella.
There was a low hum of disapproval to this announcement, and immediately, the air thickened with tension. My father was already weak, and the suddenness of this problem shocked him. We bowed to the people and retreated inside, where there was immediate bedlam. They hate me! Everyone hates me! Stella turned them against me by spreading lies! I've never done anything like that. You know I would never. You wanted the crown for yourself. I can't believe you do this to me. Your own family? That night, as I tossed and turned and agonized over my sister's fury, I heard a creak. Someone was coming into my room. At first, I thought it was my father. He used to come around every night to check that we were still in our beds. Especially after Gabriella was caught sneaking out and stealing into people's houses on a dare. But this wasn't my father. The tread was too quiet. And then, light from the hallway poured into my room, and my entire body stiffened. Someone, a stranger, was in my room, and I had no idea why. Then, before I could so much as scream, a hand was clasped over my mouth, and I was tied up, gagged, and thrown over the stranger's shoulder. He climbed from the window, rappelled down the side of the palace, and into a waiting carriage.
Don't fear for your life just yet, fair princess.
To me, that sounded like he was planning on killing me later on. I struggled, but he held me steady. In my struggle, the gag fell out of my mouth. Please! Whatever you want from me, sir, take anything but my life. I am a princess to the people, and I am still in their debt for their faith in me.
I'm afraid the one thing I have to take is that which you ask me to spare.
I began to cry in earnest. I wasn't ready to die. I had so many things I wanted to do for the kingdom. I wanted to help the schools more, volunteer in the orphanages, fund projects for easier farming. I can't do any of that if I'm dead. Again, I implored with the kidnapper. I cannot die yet. You have to let me go. I wish to rule at my sister's side and help the people who need it the most. If not for me, spare my life for the people whom I am in a position to help.
It is your sister who has placed a price on your head, young princess. It is she that fears you will win their hearts and take her place on the throne. She does not wish you to be by her side or even in her home.
I was heartbroken. Gabriella and I have had our differences, such as a standard between sisters. She was the older sister and resented me from the day I was born, but we had our good days. This was a shock. I never thought she would stoop so low as to put my whole life on the line to get ahead in a race she was already winning. I never had any intention of stealing the throne from her. The throne was a restriction that I could not live with. I needed freedom to accomplish my dreams. Gabriella knew that. Still, I was whisked away from my home, and we traveled for days and days. Michael and I talked, and soon, it became natural conversation.
It is truly a tragedy that your sister would attempt to harm you in such a way, but I now know that I cannot do what she has asked of me. I beg your forgiveness, Princess Stella, for any harm or distress I have caused you.
And I thank you, Michael, for not doing as my sister asked. Though it was hard, I knew that my life would be in more danger if I returned. I wanted to see my father one last time, but news spread throughout the kingdom that I had been killed by bandits. And then, a week later, news reached me that my father had died. Michael stayed with me and held me as I cried. I was inconsolable. But then, from great grief came great love. For Michael and I were taken with one another and found that we could not be apart. For 3 years, we stayed out of the public eye and remained in each other's arms. It was hard at times remembering what life had been stolen from me, but I was never bothered about the riches or the clothes. I cared about my responsibility and the loss of being able to fulfill my duty.
You're pregnant now, Stella, and your sister is about to take the country to war. I believe that now, more than ever, you must return to see to your people. You have to save them from a bloody battle that benefits no one but Queen Gabriella.
I did not want my child to be brought up in war-torn times, and so I heeded his advice, and we returned to the kingdom. It is I, Princess Stella. I am not dead, as you were led to believe, but in hiding after my sister sought to have me killed. I return today with the intention to take the throne from my undeserving sister, and to end the war before it begins. The response was immediate. The crowd rose in a wave of relief, and they joined me on my march up to the palace. Upon hearing the sudden uproar, my sister came to the balcony and looked down over the crowd. She spotted me and fainted. Lock her in the dungeons. It is time I set things right. My sister was furious with me for not dying, but it was nothing on the fury I had for her. She took my life away from me and refused me my final goodbye with my father. I did not have her put to death, but I kept her on as a housemaid to remind her of the trouble she caused to instill a sense of shame in her. We ended the war, and I had an heir. Life was good.